I'll never forget the way people looked at me that night. Like I didn't belong. Like I had no business being anywhere near a fashion show, let alone walking in one. I grew up on a small farm in Iowa. My family's been working the land for generations. Early mornings, muddy boots, hands in the soil. That's how I was raised. We didn't have much money, but we had love, and we worked hard. My mom used to sew our clothes because we couldn't afford to buy new ones. Watching her piece together scraps of fabric into something beautiful, that's where my love for design started. I didn't go to fashion school, couldn't afford it. I learned from old books I borrowed from the library, YouTube tutorials, and lots of trial and error. At night, after feeding the chickens and finishing my chores, I'd sit in the dim light of my room and sketch out dresses. I'd imagine fabrics I didn't have, colors I'd never seen in person. It was my little dream, quiet, secret. I never really thought it could be more than that. Then one day, my friend Ellie tagged me in a social media post. It was a contest for amateur designers. The winner would get a chance to showcase their work at a real fashion show in Chicago. I almost scrolled past it. I thought, no way, that's not for someone like me. But Ellie convinced me to try. I made a dress from old linen, dyed with beet juice and walnut shells. I hand-stitched everything. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I called it Harvest. I sent in photos, said a prayer, and went back to feeding goats the next morning. 2 weeks later, I got the email. I'd been chosen. I screamed so loud I scared the cows. It felt like a dream until I got to Chicago. The city was loud, fast. People wore clothes like they were armor. Everything sparkled. I showed up to the designer's prep room, wearing boots still stained from the farm, and carrying my dress in a canvas feed bag. That's when the whispering started. Who let the country girl in? She probably thinks denim overalls are couture. Some of the other designers looked me up and down and laughed. One of them, a tall guy with perfect hair, leaned over to his friend and said, "Maybe she's just here to clean up afterward." I felt my face burn. I wanted to run, but I didn't. I remembered my mom's voice in my head. "You ain't got to be fancy to be worth something." So I unpacked my dress and hung it up, careful and proud. It didn't shimmer. It didn't have feathers or rhinestones or anything flashy, but it told a story. The fabric had little hand-stitched patterns, corn stalks, sunrises, windmills. The back was open, laced with twine. The hem was uneven on purpose, like rolling hills. Every thread was a piece of home. The model assigned to me was a young woman named Mila. At first she looked confused when she saw the dress. "This is different," she said. Not unkindly. "I know," I said. "It's okay if you don't want to wear it." She paused then smiled. "No, it's kind of beautiful. It feels real." She wore it. When it was my turn in the lineup, I stood backstage with my heart pounding. The music thumped through the floor. One by one, the other models strutted out in sharp angles, cold silks, metallics. The crowd clapped politely. Cameras flashed. Then it was Mila's turn. She stepped onto the runway, and for a moment, I forgot to breathe. Everything slowed down. The lights caught the natural fibers of the dress in the softest way. The gentle sway of the fabric as she walked. It was like watching a wheat field in the wind. The crowd was quiet at first. Then I heard it. Gasps. Whispers. Not mocking this time. Wonder. Someone up front stood up with their phone. Another person leaned forward. By the time Mila reached the end of the runway and turned, people were on their feet. No one clapped politely. They cheered. And me. I stood there frozen, tears in my eyes, not sure if this was real life or a dream I was going to wake up from. After the show, a woman in a black pantsuit came up to me. She was from a well-known fashion magazine. She shook my hand and said, "Your piece was the soul of the show." Soul. That word stuck with me, because that's what I put into that dress. Not just fabric or thread. I put my story, my family, my land, my love. The same designers who mocked me before, they were suddenly friendly, saying things like, "Wow, that was really bold," or loved the rustic aesthetic. One even asked if I needed help packing up. I didn't hold a grudge. I just smiled and said thank you. When I got back to Iowa, everything felt different. Not the farm. No, that was the same as always. The gate still squeaked when you opened it. The barn still smelled like hay and oil. The chickens still clucked like they ran the place. and the wind still swept across the fields in long, quiet waves. But something inside me had shifted. I had left home nervous, unsure, just a girl with a handmade dress, and a hope that maybe someone would see it. And now, I had been seen. Not just noticed, but really seen. People clapped for something I created with my own two hands. People felt something from it. It was a strange feeling, coming home after that. I remember sitting on the front porch that first evening, the wood beneath me still warm from the sun. My dog, Rusty, laid his head on my knee like nothing had changed. Like I hadn't just stepped onto a runway, in front of hundreds of people. Like I wasn't suddenly being talked about in fashion blogs and magazines. And maybe that's what kept me grounded. A week later the emails started coming in. Real offers, big names too. Names I'd only seen in glossy magazines at the grocery store. They wanted to meet, wanted to talk about working together. Some wanted to buy the rights to my design. A boutique in New York offered to carry my next 3 pieces. And then there was this crew from LA. They wanted to film a documentary about the farm girl who stunned the fashion world. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited. Of course I was. My heart raced every time a new message came in, but I also felt something else, hesitation. Like deep in my gut, I knew I had to be careful. I didn't want to get swept up in all of it. I didn't want to lose the part of me that made that first dress matter. So I didn't jump at the first deal with shiny promises. I waited. I listened. I sat down with my parents at the kitchen table, same table where we shelled peas and sorted bills. I showed them the emails, explained what the offers meant. My dad didn't say much, just sipped his coffee slow and steady. But my mom reached across the table and held my hand. "Don't say yes to something just because it looks big," she said. "Say yes when it feels right." I also called Ellie. She cried when I told her about the runway moment. Real tears. "I told you," she said, between sobs. "I told you they'd see what I see." And Mila, sweet Mila, the model who wore my dress like it was stitched from gold, she sent me a voice message from New York. "People are still talking about your piece," she said. "It was magic. You have something rare. Don't let anyone mess with that." So I sat with it all. I thought about what mattered to me, not just in the moment, but long term. I didn't want to be a flash in the pan. I wanted to build something that meant something. Something rooted. Eventually I started my own little label. I called it Rooted, because that's what I am. No matter where this path takes me, I'll always be the girl who grew up chasing chickens and sketching dresses under a flickering lamp. And now when I walk into a room, I carry my whole story with me. Not hidden, not ashamed. People still make comments sometimes. "You don't look like a designer," or "That's not really fashion." But I've learned something. Fashion isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about telling the truth, stitch by stitch. And my truth started on a farm, with dirt under my nails, and a dream bigger than a cornfield. So yeah, they mocked me, but in the end, my dress shut down the runway.